Okay, we want to say welcome to Grounded with Don Tester and Maritza Giorgio. We are recording live on Substack this morning because we are so honored to be joined in a little bit by independent journalist, influencer, lawyer, guy who can't possibly get more than a couple hours of sleep a night, Aaron Parnas. He is providing us the Gen Z perspective on news, and he'll join us in a few minutes. But should we get to some headlines first?
I think we should. We look forward to getting Aaron on. He'll be on in about 10 minutes or so it'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be good. Okay. There's just so much going on right now. I want to say first off, though, one thing that we're not talking a lot about is Jeffrey Epstein.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry.
The fact of the matter is that that's on the back burner. And the truth is there were promises made during the campaign that information was going to be released. And now all of a sudden, no information is being released, interestingly enough.
We know
Deep
that
state.
there was a new dump of documents maybe given from the estate to the House committee yesterday. So we'll see what they release. But yeah, we're not hearing a lot, and a lot of attention has shifted, of course. And it should, because there was a political assassination last week. And that's a really big deal. And I know that has caused a lot of emotions in people, whether it's people who loved Charlie Kirk or people who feel really conflicted about their feelings, people who feel really angry about some of the words that he said. So there's a lot going on with that. We talked about it last week. But Vice President J.D. Vance yesterday hosted his show, Charlie Kirk's show yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's when he announced that the White House is basically planning a crackdown on liberal groups using Kirk's murder as a justification to take down left-wing organizations.
Well, that's bullshit. And that's not what should be going on right now. The news is out. This wasn't a liberal that shot Charlie Kirk. It was a Republican, just like in Butler and just like on the golf course. And political differences of political thought, which is what the president always talks about, but never follows up on. It's one of those deals where the president says one thing and does another. And whether it's dealing with China or whether it's dealing with anything, it just doesn't matter. There's one set of facts that come out, and then the truth is a different set of facts are followed. I think that's incredibly dangerous. I think it goes to uh, doing away with our democracy. I've always said that Democrats aren't right all the time, Republicans aren't right all the time, and so having differences of opinions for good policy is critically important. And for the president to use this as a springboard to take away political conversation goes against what this country stands for, in my opinion.
Well, and here's where I kind of step in and say, well, hold on, because I'm hearing so much about this suspect, right? I'm hearing so much
Yep.
about the suspect. First, we heard this and this and this, and now we hear maybe he was conservative. Now we hear maybe it has something to do with Nick Fuentes' group, and then people say no, no. I mean, Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, went on Meet the Press this weekend and said, no, he had leftist beliefs. I don't know anything about this guy. We're hearing conflicting information, and I think until we have a clear understanding, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, he murdered somebody in broad daylight in front of thousands of people, and on how many cell phones that captured that. And so at this point, I just think we should get the facts straightened out, because it's only causing more division.
It always doesn't hurt. It always is beneficial to get the facts out if you're going to make good decisions. But to come out right out of the chute saying we're going to start tamping down on people who think differently than this administration
Yeah.
is a bad, bad, bad precedent to be setting, and people shouldn't put up with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was thinking about is that we were seeing people being fired and losing their jobs over this now, right? Like we saw it at Delta Airlines, American Airlines. We're seeing it within the federal government. They're threatening people who posted. I can't remember the wording. I think it was insensitive comments. And I'm wondering, who decides the threshold for that? But also, you know, I can remember back to when there was a spree of killings in Minnesota earlier this summer, Senator, and Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband and her dog were killed. Another lawmaker was hurt pretty badly, shot, both at their homes. And your former colleague, Senator Mike Lee, came out and made a joke about Nightmare on Wall Street. And so, why does he get to keep his job?
Yeah, 100% correct. There cannot be a double standard. The truth is what happened last week and what happened to the lawmakers in Minnesota is unacceptable, and people should stand up and do that. Stand up and say that it's unacceptable and it shouldn't be tolerated. But that's not. There's a double standard here. I'll just tell you, and I'm seeing it over and over and over again. While they say, I'm talking about JD Vance and others now, while they say, "Oh yeah, yeah, no, I mean we want to hear from people," they do everything they can do to tamp it down. They have people running around the country in mass, unmarked, picking people up who are U.S. citizens, not criminals, and taking them out of the country and losing their papers. This is not good, and and they need to start listening to people is what they need to start doing, and all this stuff would tend to go away, I believe.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Okay, right now we want to say too that the FBI director Kash Patel did just start testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. This started 24 minutes ago. He's expected to be grilled over his handling of this investigation. I also expect that we will hear some questions about Epstein too.
Yeah, I would expect so too. And look, the FBI has a tough job, but they need to do it. And they need to do it in a bipartisan, nonpartisan way, I should say, and go after the people who are trying to destroy our democracy and destroy our Constitution and destroy this country.
Okay, I do have some breaking news. Just came down. Tim Walz, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, he is going to seek a third term as Minnesota's governor, something that's never been done.
Well, as a Minnesotan, you probably have some thoughts on that. Look, I actually know Tim when he served in the House. He served on this House Veterans Affairs Committee and got to know him through that experience when I was on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. I don't think the last, when he was a VP, I don't think they used him the way they could have used him because he's a solid dude. I wish him the best in his run for a third term as governor.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fight. I mean, it's never happened in Minnesota, so we will see. But we just talked to Jay Inslee, a couple weeks ago. He served 3 terms in Washington. So,
Yeah, and
um,
and and we also had the Timmer on
that's
our
right.
podcast, so it's good.
That's right, and I'm actually gonna talk about that interview with Aaron Parnas, I hope, if we have time with him. Okay, the last thing I wanna ask you about, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has been really, outspoken about the Epstein files, and she has been very critical of the Trump administration over the Epstein files, but then yesterday she posted a long, post on social media, and she said that she basically is asking for an amicable national divorce. She says she wants nothing to do with the left anymore. And then we saw Republican Representative Ryan Zinke of Montana, who we both know, of course. He was on CNN just a couple of days ago. He said we need a healthy Democratic Party in this country alongside a Republican Party. So what's gonna happen here? I mean, do you think there's room for Zinke's belief there anymore within MAGA?
I don't know. I don't know that Ryan probably knows that better than I, Ryan Zicke. But she wants a divorce from the left?
But yeah, she said she wants a peaceful national divorce.
I don't,
Basically split
so
up.
I'm just a farmer, but I really don't understand what the hell that means, to be honest with you. She has not been somebody that has been particularly bipartisan in her ways. The Epstein is the single exception that I know of. Um, but what the hell? I will say this, and I will give Ryan Zinke his due. This is a two-party system. There are parts about the two-party system that I'm not enamored with, but that's a system we have and we need it. And if it becomes one-party rule, that's not good at all. And and I don't care if it's one party by Democrats or one party by Republicans. It's not good for getting good policy passed. And and it's not good for the country. It's not good for business. It's not good for working families. It's not good for poor. It might be good for the rich, but I doubt it. So it's just not good.
Well, again, it just goes against what our country is founded on, but we want to welcome into the chat. There he is. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. Aaron Parnas, thanks for being with us. Welcome to Grounded.
Thanks for having me. How's it going?
Well,
Go.
it's going really good now you're on. I'm going to tell you something. I try not to talk to Maritza very much for obvious reasons, but every time I talk to her for the last 2 weeks, it's been, "Hey, Aaron Parnas is going to be on. Aaron Parnas is going to be on." So
That's
you
so
better
quick.
you better be really really good. That's what I'm telling.
Oh,
I hope so. I mean,
he's amazing. Listen, Tester, if you had Instagram, I would be sending you his clips all the time because literally Aaron is like who I get most of my breaking news from. I see it first on your sites, Aaron, and I thank you for that. As like a news hound, news consumer, I get why you are so popular and I get why you have reached this younger generation because Tester, you're gonna love this. It's like breaking news up to the minute. It's quick, it's easy to consume, it's easy to understand, and it doesn't take a lot of your time. Is that did I get it right, Aaron?
yep, in 60 seconds or less, any story.
Yeah, and it's incredible, and I just think it's such an effective way to consume news. So, I mean,
So
hi, thank you for being with us. Tester, go ahead.
well, so I haven't. Excuse me, and don't think less of me, but I haven't read a lot of your clips. Okay, so tell me what you think about JD Vance's announcement that they're going after the groups on the left.
I mean, I think it's concerning, obviously, but I think that in a lot of ways, it's just kind of this big ol' distraction to try to get the American people away from the issues that really matter. They have a government shutdown coming up. They have the Epstein files they don't want to release. They have a whole host of issues that they don't want to be talking about. Jobs numbers are tanking, and so let's just put out this idea that we're going to go after all these left leaning groups without defining what a left leaning group is. It really is just, I mean, even Pam Bondi yesterday went out and was like, we're going to go after folks who essentially say incendiary remarks about Charlie Kirk, potentially prosecute them. And then this morning, she walked a lot of it back. So it's a lot of like just public posturing for their base, in my opinion. But we'll see. I don't know. I really hope they don't try to make an example out of someone because that's my biggest concern here.
I think that's a valid concern, and immediately when that was announced, I mean, I thought about my co-host here, former Senator John Tester. I thought about you, Aaron. I thought about a lot of people who've been very outspoken. I thought a lot about people I've seen posting the last few days. I mean, are you worried? Are you like what are you doing in response to that news?
Well, yeah, I am. I mean, I've received plenty of death threats in the past year, but especially over the past week, a lot more than usual for folks just saying your rhetoric has caused this, even though I haven't even said Charlie's name once in the past year. But for me personally, I think a big part of it is I have wiped my information off of all corners of the internet. I don't share my personal life with anyone. Everyone wants to meet my wife. You're never going to meet my wife, right? Like, the
Yeah.
internet is a very scary place, and I tell everyone that if I had the choice, I would never be a public facing person. And so this is probably why. But alas, I'm just trying to protect myself as much as I can here.
That's that's solid, and it's sad too, by the way,
Yep.
where people and by the way, my opinion, agree or disagree with him, what happened to Charlie Kirk is not acceptable. And I will also tell you the way a lot of people are trying to manipulate somebody's assassination for political reasons is not acceptable either. And in fact, it goes to the term of bullshit. So, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
So,
I
Aaron,
agree.
I want to
so
ask you. So, oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
no,
sir.
you first, ladies first. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask, I mean, Stephen Miller basically called the left of the party a vast domestic terror movement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's strong language. What, like, knowing what you know, I mean, I have to say, you were a Trump supporter. You were part of the campaign process in 2016. I mean, knowing what you know about these people, what is that signaling when he says something like that?
Well, I will just say, like, if you see what they say publicly, just imagine what they say privately, because I'll tell you it's 10, 15 times worse what they're saying privately. I think the 2016 campaign and the 2024 kinda race and now is the Trump 2 White House versus Trump 1 White House, very different cast of characters. Yes, Stephen Miller's always kinda been around, but Miller really is kinda, in my opinion, running the show in the White House for a lot of things, for, border stuff, for immigration stuff, and now, um, this kind of culture war going after the left. It's really kinda Miller's baby, and Trump is just letting him run with it. I think ultimately, though, it is a very kinda concerning place we are in as a nation. I think what John was saying is really important, that what happened to Kirk was horrific, but the fact that it's been so politicized so immediately by folks across the political spectrum, whether you're on the right or the left, blaming one another and trying to say that this was a radical leftist or a far right Republican without actually having any information about the motive is the problem. And I think I've said
Right.
this for a lot of people over the past 8 months or so, non-political tragedies should not be made political, right? When there is a plane crash, we should not be talking about DEI. When there is a terrorist attack, we should not be talking about anti-Muslim rhetoric. When there is a assassination on U.S. soil, like with Charlie Kirk, we should not automatically be talking about right versus left when we don't know who did it or why it was done. And I think ultimately that is where it's a really problematic state of our media. It's a really problematic state of our political system. And I'm just trying to break through that divide a little bit, but it's not easy.
And I appreciate that, and you talk about that, like, that it's irresponsible, and for journalists, I mean, we saw a lot of, legacy media companies put out things that they walked back in the last week because we just didn't know. We still don't know so much, and I appreciate that about what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Wall Street Journal put out in a story about the transgender inscriptions that they've walked back, and
Mhm.
the Guardian say that an anonymous source said that Robinson was a leftist. They've walked it back. Uh, then you had Fox News put out this report that Robinson's roommate was transgender. Who cares? I mean, that's not part of. There's no evidence to tie that to a motive, and so it's just media fueling the flames of these conspiracies, and then when you don't do that, you get hit with the $15 billion lawsuit like the Times did this morning from Trump. So, yeah, it's tough.
Aaron, and you've probably covered this 1,000 times before, but I haven't read it, so you gotta tell me. You work for the Donald. I assume you tried to get him elected in 16, and now, you're talking about the challenges that this administration puts forth to ordinary people. What was there a single time that this flipped you? Or was there an event that said,
Yeah.
"Whoa, I'm on the wrong side of history here"?
Yeah, I mean, it was a while ago. So when I was a Trump supporter, quote unquote, because I never actually supported the policies. I was 16 years old, right? I was very young. It was the first kind of foray into politics, and I tell everyone the first presidential election I remember is 2016. I don't remember the Obama era. I don't remember the Bush era, and so going into politics for the first time as a 16, 17-year-old kid, all I knew was Trump, and for me, over the next several years, as I saw Trump 1 kind of take effect, I had lived experiences that really shaped my political kind of awakening, right? So I was working in Miami as a lawyer or as a summer associate in law school at the time. And I visited an inner city school where one of my good friends was teaching through AmeriCorps. And I saw the disparities those students had in terms of educational funding and just resources versus what I had growing up. And then I realized, well, one party wants to make sure that all students across the country receive equitable access to education and resources. The other party doesn't really seem to care about these students. Then I had a healthcare scare. And then in that moment, I was like, well, one party cares that I can afford to pay my healthcare bills or have affordable health insurance. The other party doesn't really care if I go into medical debt. And so through those lived experiences, I shifted. It wasn't Trump specifically, but rather just kind of my overall gradual political awakening.
So, and I'm gonna let Maritza go, but I got one follow-up on that. So, what was it that attracted you to Trump? What was it that he
Mm.
did that
Yeah.
said, "Hey, this is the guy"?
Truthfully, just the way he spoke, it just really just for me, being a lawyer, and when I make my videos and all of this, I talk to people as though they're regular people. very plain spoken. I try to break down these very complex topics in very easily understandable ways because I'm not talking to millions of lawyers. I'm talking to millions of everyday Americans. And the way Trump spoke to everyday Americans as a 16, 17-year-old who thought that, or who was told politicians lie, and politicians make up like, are these like big brainiacs or whatever. I was like, seems like a decent guy, right? But at the same time, I grew up in a household at the time where Fox News was running, and that was the only media we consumed. And so I didn't really know any different. And so it was kind of both factors in a way.
Okay.
That leads to this question I have for you because I've had so many conversations over the last few days about what happened in Utah last week, and Governor Cox talked about this too. But I keep like some of the smarter conversations come back to the algorithm, right? Social media algorithms, and that there's this whole population of Charlie Kirk followers
Yep.
who never saw some of the videos that we saw that were blatantly racist, sexist, you name it. And then there's this whole section of the population like who align on the left who've never seen really wholesome videos of Charlie Kirk. And that's intentional. That's the algorithm at work. So the question is, and this is complicated for all three of us on here, how do we fight against that while also all acknowledging that the algorithm has a benefit for people like us who want to get our messages out?
Well, the senator's former colleagues should do something on Capitol Hill when it comes to the algorithm and social
Now you're
media
preaching to the choir with
and,
him.
and,
Yeah.
and, and big tech regulation, especially as these tech companies are now owned by Zuckerberg, Musk, and soon to be Larry Ellison on TikTok. And that's very concerning when these three billionaires really control the narrative and the algorithms. But I tell everyone that the best way to break through the algorithms we're seeing on the internet is to go next door and knock on your neighbor's door and have a regular conversation because ultimately real conversation on the ground transcends anything that happens online and social media. Social media does not win you elections. Social media is only one part to a much larger whole. And I think as a society, we have a problem when we can't knock on our neighbor's door and talk to them and disagree and agree when, because in reality, 80% of Americans agree on 80% of the issues. It's really just the fringe right and the fringe left. They're the loudest in the room. They're not always the most popular. And so I'm a big believer in really on the ground kind of coming together. But
Senator, do you have any opinions about what Congress should do?
Well, they ought to forfeit their pay until they start doing something. Quite frankly, they haven't done jack shit for a long time now. So it's time. Maybe they could start by reading the Constitution. I don't know, and then after they get the checks and balances down, maybe they could do something about the damn algorithms and big tech for sure. So let me ask you this: how old are you?
26.
Can you
26.
believe that? You've done a lot in your life.
No shit. Yeah. So, what as a 26-year-old, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing this country right now? Right now.
The fact that every single student in America is not taught civics from a young age. That is the biggest problem in America. We're not taught media literacy. We're not educated on checks and balances, the how government works, how to pass a law, how to make a bill into law, how to vote, what voting means, all of that. When you're not taught civics and the way our government functions from a young age, you grow up not knowing where to get information from properly. You grow up in a very uneducated kind of environment. And I genuinely believe that if you teach civics in all 50 states and all schools starting from kindergarten on, you will have a much better society.
I
So,
think you're right.
Aaron, let me ask about that because I'm on the board of the Maureen and Mike Mansfield Center, and there are programs that we have that aim to do that. But guess what? $26 million of the Mansfield Center's funding has been cut by the federal government. So,
Yeah.
how do we get from point A to point B when those cuts have been happening?
Well, it starts on the state legislatures, on the state level, right? Because the federal government only does so much. Each state needs to mandate this in each individual state. If Florida wants to mandate civics, but Oklahoma doesn't, there's really not much the federal government could do there. So I really think that it starts on the state level. It starts by lobbying state legislatures to pass mandated civics curriculum in all 50 states. And some have it, some don't, but I think that's where it starts.
So, I've been asked this my entire time I was in the Senate. I would have people come to me and say, "How do I?" It still happens now, in fact. How do I get my news? How do I know I'm getting news that's actually accurate? You address that in the civics education question, but so that's screwed up. So what do you tell people now? Where do you get your news?
Where do I get my news? I get my news from the firsthand primary source 75% of the time. So I go, and nowadays policy is done by Truth Social posts, right? So that's a firsthand source. That's where news is coming from. But in reality, I go directly to the member of Congress that's making the news. I go directly to try to go local to directly to the source of the news. Not many people can do that or have the
Yeah.
time to do that, right? That is hard. And so the other 25% of the time, I have a very trusted kind of group of journalists, local journalists, especially local ABC, CBS, Fox affiliates on the ground in various places, and then also investigative journalists at places like ProPublica, which really do good work, in my opinion. And I go there. But for me, I don't report on a story unless A, it's coming directly from the primary source that I see and I get, or B, I can fact check that among multiple outlets, not just one. So that's why I never touched the transgender bullet inscription story because only one outlet reported on it, and I wasn't going to run with it. So I have to make sure multiple outlets confirm it.
But, like,
So
how
if
do you
you're,
have time? What like,
yeah,
when do you sleep, Aaron? I mean, you're on everything, and I'm exhausted doing what we do here on our Grounded podcast Substack. I don't know how you do this and have a wife and have a social life, and I see you're training for a marathon. Like,
Yeah.
how do you have time?
Well, so okay. For it's people, I'm going to be a little more like personal here because it really kind of dates back to like trauma. I try to avoid trauma in my life and thinking about trauma by packing my day so tight that every single minute of every single day is productive. I try to seek peak efficiency in everything that I do, whether it's social media, hanging out with friends, whatever it is. It's not healthy all the time, and I'm going to therapy for that. Totally fine, but it's what I do, and it's what gets me through the day. But I sleep well. I sleep 8 to 9 hours a night.
All right,
If
good.
I didn't, I would be a zombie every morning. But that's kind of
I
what,
appreciate that. That's important to talk about that because we all could be a little bit more vulnerable and talk about our own traumas and going to therapy, which I'm a big proponent of. Go ahead, Senator.
do you classify yourself as a workaholic then?
yeah. Well, I mean, I love it. So yeah.
And
Do you
so
think
is there any time that you go into idle? I mean, is there any time that you,
Yeah.
I don't know, like you watch a baseball game and just don't think about anything but whether, Raleigh's going to hit his 54th home run or not?
I mean, listen, I love the New York Jets, and every Sunday I watch the Jets play and lose, but I'm still kind of thinking about working during the game. But every Friday night, I really disconnect for Shabbat. I'm Jewish, and so around like 7:30, 8 p.m. on, I'll go to a Shabbat dinner, and I will not touch my phone for several
literally,
hours.
Senator, he has recorded his videos in airplane bathrooms.
Yeah,
Like he is wherever he is, he gets up and he gives us the news. It's incredible. And you're reaching people.
it's awkward, but it works.
Are you, this is too much information. Are you using the bathroom while you're doing the video?
No, no, and
Okay,
it's
good.
I have
Yeah,
to book an aisle seat because otherwise people think I have a bladder issue.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I do wanna ask about because when we had Governor Walz on our show, I asked him about Charlie Kirk's movement and Turning Point, and it as we see, it was very effective. Do you see
Yeah.
any, organizations or people on the Democratic side doing things that are as effective as what he did with young people in this country on the right?
No, I don't. But I will say this: what Kirk did was very effective. But what Kirk didn't necessarily, in my opinion, at least, win a ton of elections. I think it started conversations, right, and it was on social media feeds. I really go back to the point that our nation on in most election cycles and in most times is a 50-50 nation, right? We're split right, left, 50-50. And elections are decided often by a few 100,000 votes in a few swing states. Charlie Kirk is not going to be the deciding factor in any of those swing states. It's going to be whether or not you can afford a home, right? It's going to be whether or not the economy is doing well. That is almost always the reason why an election is won or lost. What Charlie Kirk did that was so well was galvanize young people just to start thinking about politics. And no, there's no one on the left that is anywhere close to where Kirk was or honestly will ever be. And the primary factor to that is the left is more focused on eating itself right now than it is going after anyone on the right. And until they figure out that problem, you're not going to have a Charlie Kirk of the left.
I couldn't agree with you more, and there's plenty of case and points to bear that out. It's insanity.
Yeah.
Um, I should let Maritza do this because
No,
she's the
go
pro.
ahead.
She's the pro. So,
You go ahead, Senator.
last week I was on the East Coast and I happened to run into Lloyd Austin, who is really a good guy, former Secretary of Defense, and I was talking to him about Signal Gate and what was going on, and he's a very, very quiet man. He doesn't say a hell of a lot, but what he did say was, well, the Russians are burning the wheat crops in Ukraine right now. I'm a farmer. That hits right square in the guts. What are you hearing about Ukraine?
Well, I started doing this work because I had family in Ukraine when Russia first invaded. That was the reason I started even going on
Mhm.
social media and posting. I think what's happening in Ukraine is honestly a tragedy, not just in the sense of the conflict, but the fact that it's become so normalized. That's my biggest issue. Is that Americans are so kind of numb to the idea that there is this war happening overseas, that people are dying every single day, and there's not changing. I mean, you're really at a stalemate in a lot of ways on the ground, along the front lines in a lot of areas. Yes, Russia's pushing through some areas, but it's not. I mean, estimates suggest I was looking, Russia wouldn't be able to take all four of the territories that it's trying to occupy in eastern Ukraine for several years at this pace. And ultimately, people are dying. Trump clearly underestimated Putin, clearly thought that he could just come in and get a deal done. He can't. And that's not necessarily Trump's fault. Putin just doesn't want a deal. And I think what a lot of people forget is that this war didn't start in 2022. It started in 2014. It started when Putin first invaded Crimea. And also, people forget that Putin isn't doing this because of issues at home in Russia. He's doing this. He grew up under Stalin. He was a KGB agent who was trained under this kind of murderous leader. And Stalin's whole dream was to build this large Soviet Union, and Putin wants to recreate that dream. And if people think that they can just stop a madman from creating or going through with executing on his dreams, well, they have another thing coming for them because you can't.
I know you
100%.
need to.
Which is why the countries that are next to Ukraine and others are very, very concerned. It's why you got folks joining NATO that have never joined NATO before because they understand exactly what you said, that Putin's got a bigger plan out there than just Ukraine.
Yeah.
Well, and we're seeing what's happening with drones now entering Romanian airspace reportedly. It's something to watch for sure. Meanwhile, we have the chaos we have at home, and our adversaries are counting on us to be in chaos over here. So I know you need to go, Aaron, because you are the busiest person I know. I think I don't know you personally, but from what I see, you're the busiest person I know of.
We do appreciate you giving us
Of
more.
course. This was great.
Yeah, but I do have to ask you: have you thought about running for office?
um, yes, I have, but I will only run for office if there is a position open in which I feel like I am the best person for the job, and that's hasn't happened yet, and it's not in my near future. I want to start a family, have some kids, and then maybe run for office, and hopefully the senator will run again soon too.
Uh,
Oh, that's a challenge there, Senator.
yeah, yeah. Well, here's the difference. I'm not even going to do the math. 69, 26, 43. You're 43 years younger than I am. Okay. You are exactly, by the way, the folks we need to get into public service. I mean, recruiting a 77-year-old governor to run for the Senate seat in Maine doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Having John Tester run as governor or for the U.S. Senate again doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. We need to get folks in your age, maybe 10 years older, get them up to that ripe old age of 36 to run too. And I think the country would be a better place. I really do. I mean, I think my generation has screwed this place up badly, and we need somebody to fix it. And you're the man. You're the man, Aaron.
We'll see what happens.
Oh, Aaron, I hope you'll come back with us
Of
sometime.
course.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate you. I mean, I just can't say enough about everything you've done in your life at the age of 26. It's incredible. And if you are not getting your news from Aaron Parnas, I really highly recommend. He is on Substack, The Parnas Perspective. He's on all the social media platforms. We'll see what happens with TikTok. I'm not really sure. That's up and down. But we
Whatever
just
happens.
thank you. We just thank you so much.
Thank
Aaron,
you so much for having me.
I got to tell you, I hope I run into you in person someday. You're an
Let let me
person.
know when you're in DC. Would love to meet
Well,
up in person.
hey,
Mhm.
Senator, I'll be there next week. So why don't you come with me? We'll bring you out to coffee. Be good.
Come on over.
Uh, that's done. I just, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we won't. We'll get into this one. Not waste Aaron's time, but she
All right.
flies all over hell, and she doesn't have any money. I can't figure out how she does it.
Oh, now you're going to start a conspiracy theory about me. All right. Thank you, Aaron. Have a great
Guys,
day.
you too. Take care, guys.
We're going to
Take
stay on
care.
though, Senator. I hope our friends here stay on with us. And for those of you who are joining us and you have no idea who we are because you're followers of Aaron, Senator, you want to introduce ourselves here?
Yeah, well, Maritza and I are both unemployed. She got laid off from Scripps. She's a top flight reporter. I don't know why anybody'd ever lay off a top flight reporter, but they did. And I got
Thanks.
laid off from the U.S. Senate. Got replaced by a guy who has never held public office before. So we have our egos are really, really built up quite high. Okay,
Yes.
and we've been
Two
we've been doing we've been doing this podcast because right after I lost and right after she got laid off, she sent me a note and said we ought to do a podcast. And I said only if we can make millions. I think we're up to 1,000 now. I mean, it's good. It's good.
$1,000. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we're working on it, but
yeah.
yeah,
But
we're
we're
not we're not making millions, but we're having fun because we get to talk to people like Aaron Parnas,
amen,
who
amen,
is
sis. Yeah.
working to change the country. I mean, he's really doing an amazing job with his reach and getting quality news and information out to people, which, as a journalist, that is so critical. And he's breaking through to young people in a way that traditional media isn't and
So
haven't.
what? I'm going to tell you what I noticed about Aaron Parnas.
Okay.
When you asked him a question, he didn't take 5 minutes to answer it.
I know. He's
When you asked him a
exactly.
question, it was rip, rap, boom, done. Next, let's move on. Man, I like that, and I like that a lot. It's incredibly refreshing.
Yeah, it is, and I do like Celia saying he's my breaking news guy. Me too, Celia. I go and check out when I hear something's going on, I go check it out. I have never looked at his page and not seen him already have something up about what I wanna know about. I mean, he is so quick, and he's to the point and direct while giving context, which is very hard to do. So, if you are not following him for news information, really, it's an invaluable source. Um, okay, so I do wanna talk about a couple things with you before you have to go. First of all, I went to an event last night for the Mansfield Center, which I talked about, and we had Dr. Robert Putnam there. It was part of the President's Lecture Series too at the University of Montana, and he talked about everything that we talk about, Senator. I mean, he basically talked about why we are here, and he had all these graphs about, basically taking care of community, like how much we get out and interact with our fellow people face to face. He talked about economic disparities and really, he talked about how Montana, where we live, really led the way in so many things that changed the quality of life for people, and how Montana used to be actually a very blue state, which is hard for a lot of young people to understand or even imagine, but that unions started here, that the suffrage movement started here, that we had community, that people cared about one another, and it was an incredible speech, and I just had to talk about that. But the other thing he talked about was social media and why Congress isn't doing more to demand more of social media companies who are exploiting all of us and who are pitting us against each other with the algorithm, like we talked about with Aaron, but also that they basically told him at Facebook, at the Facebook campus, that they know how to connect people online and in person, but they're not doing it because the more people who meet in person face to face, which is very healthy, the less time people spend on the social media platforms.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, I don't need to go down the line. I'll go with why Congress needs to do something. And look, I was there for 18 years. Guilty as charged. We should have done something when I was there. This has been going on for decades now.
So this is your fault.
Yeah, I'll take the
I'm just
but the
kidding.
truth is, it ain't the reason I lost the election. I'll tell you that. And it should have been, quite honestly, because these these platforms have so much influence. You know, people talk about AI. God, AI can be used for negative. It can be used for positive. We're really worried it'll be used for negative. These goddamn platforms are not exactly helping our democracy. I'll just tell you that. And they need to wake the hell up, or we can look forward to a place where they don't exist, because it's not helpful. And I don't mean to say that as Jesus, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but the truth is democracies work when people talk to one another and there is compromise, and these platforms are not helping with either one of those things.
Yeah, we all need to do better, I think, and I hope that they take notice about these conversations around the algorithm and getting people face to face. Speaking of you losing the election,
Well, thanks. I appreciate you. Well, I guess I brought it up, so you can follow. Go ahead.
all right. I have to ask you about this article in the Montana Free Press today about the Montana Democratic Convention last weekend. And when I read this, it kind of, it's not just about Montana, because we are seeing conversations like this take place all across the country about the Democratic Party. Aaron brought it up in our conversation. But the newly elected vice chair of the party really went after you. And he said that he thinks a lot of people are upset with you for not being more proactive during your last campaign. And he said that the Democrats need to be more aggressive on things that he said are often called socialists. He said we've got to stop running away from that word, because the voters that are entering the electorate or just enter the electorate don't find that term as radioactive as a lot of people in the room may find it.
Well, I just
What
say that I am not a Max Johnson Democrat. I think the Democrats have a fox in the henhouse, and if they don't clean it up, there won't be any eggs to pick. And that's all I'm going to say. We just use that little farmer analogy and just say Democrats in Montana got a job to do, and if they don't do it, there ain't going to be much left. This dude has lived in Montana for maybe a minute and a half, and he seems to know what the fuck is going on in the state when he doesn't know jack shit.
Oh,
And
okay. So you have some opinions about this.
I do have some opinions about this, and I've got people go, "Well, Jesus Christ, you gotta show a little bit of grace." No, this guy's a clown, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and it's not because he's been critical of me. I don't really care about that. It's because if you read what he says, he ain't a Democrat. They got a fox in the henhouse. They need to get it fixed.
Well, and here's the thing, and we've talked about this with Heather Cox Richardson, who has talked about what's happening in our country right now, and that the Democrats need to stay away from having what she called, purity tests, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Aaron Parnas just talked about that the
yeah,
Democrats are basically eating their own tail.
yeah.
So
I
for
don't.
me,
This ain't the same thing as a purity test. I'll guarantee you that. This is a dude that's there to raise hell. Thinks he knows Montana, doesn't know jack shit about Montana. It ain't a purity test. It's a guy that's there to destroy, not to build. I spent
okay.
20, I spent 26 years building. Actually, a hell of a lot longer than that. But and this guy's there to destroy. So yeah. Look, I don't expect him to do anything. Quite frankly, I don't think anything's going to come of this, and I think the party will be weaker because of it.
Okay, let's talk about something really serious now, and that is for our people watching who don't watch our shows. We talk about whatever hat Senator John Tester is wearing at the end of each show, because he has like 500 hats and he picks a new one every episode. So, what is this? What is this hat you're wearing? It's red, which, I mean, that's a bold statement in itself. John Tester's wearing a red hat, but it doesn't have the letters MAGA on it. So, what is
No, I got two red pickups too. That doesn't mean anything. I like the color red. I like blue. Every once in a while, I like teal. I mean, this hat is it's got an R for a company called Richland Aviation that is in Richland County, Montana, which is in the Far East, where Sydney, Montana is, and they're a good outfit. I like them. I don't know if they voted for me or not. Doesn't matter. They're a good small business and they do good work.
I will tell you that Robert Putnam, Dr. Putnam last night told me that he did donate to your campaign.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, if you'd have told me about this, I'd have probably drove to Missoula to watch him. But oh no, no, no. Leave old Johnny on the outside looking in.
Let me give you a tip, Senator. If you signed up for emails from the Maureen and Mike Mansfield Center, you would have known about it.
What? Well, why didn't you send me an email telling me how to sign up for the email?
Okay, I'll do that. I'll sign you up. Our neighbor John says Santa also wears a red hat. He's right. Santa does wear a red hat. We're just going to start calling you Santa. Okay. We are working on our next episode.
I don't have the beard for it. Okay. So
You're working on it, though.
yeah, it's kind of scraggly though. What can I say? Anyway, go ahead.
I got to tell you, people like the goatee. They like this new John Tester look.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. My wife hasn't told me to shave it off yet, so we're okay.
Oh, I know she's the boss. She's the boss for sure. Okay. We are working on our next episode. Stay tuned there. But in the meantime, you can find us here on Substack. You can find us on Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. You can shoot us an email at groundedpcast@gmail.com. This only works because of the amazing support of this community and you sharing it with your networks. And we want to thank so much our guest, Aaron Parnas, today, who really is making such a difference in our country right now and informing people from young to old. Like, people are going to him. So we want to thank him for spending some time with us. And we want to thank our friends at Pearl Jam who let us use their music in our audio episodes.
And all I have to say is tally ho.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.